Paranoid Part 2 by Greg Huffman, narrated by Chelsea Glover. You know how it is said that most young people always believe they act like nothing will happen to them and they will live forever? Well, it has always been the opposite for me. When I was in school and we had to watch those slideshows of gruesome car wrecks and hear stories about the victims of them and what they went through, I would always have to turn away from them and pretend I was under a waterfall. Sometimes I felt like I was going to faint, or I would become afraid I might faint. My head would feel funny, and if I was afraid if I did faint, I would fall and hurt myself when I did. One time, whenever I was in junior high school, a kid actually did faint while watching a slideshow showing a person with a damaged aorta valve. It surprised me it wasn't me. God damn it. I'm surprised it wasn't me. If during a college lecture something like a person getting an aneurysm is brought up, I start to hyper-focus on it and I start rubbing my head and spacing out. Brain aneurysms I fear, heart attacks more so than cancer. They just seem like a jarring thing to happen. Life seems so fragile. My friend Joe died from appendicitis. I could randomly die tomorrow or tonight, and who wouldn't be able to go on with their lives like nothing happened? It might be a small point of discussion, but ultimately it would be something everyone would get over. People are constantly dying from all kinds of things, and so every day I have to realize that it could happen to me at any second. There is no sanctuary from death. There is not a single place in this world that can hide you from it. When I'm driving, I fear death. I fear a car might slam into me and metal will go through my brain. Brain injuries seem the scariest to me. I wonder what it would feel like. Would it be like a shocking sensation? Like, would your vision go all wacky and cut in and out? What would it look like? How would your vision be affected? I recently got a tooth infection and I have to go to the dentist to be put under via anesthesia. I worry about that. I fear dying of a tooth infection, and I fear dying while being put under. I fear altered states. I fear what it will be like to be forced to sleep. I recently took a wheat cookie around New Year's Eve, and I started to freak out. I was with Amy Mitchell and her friends, Jen and James. I noticed the TV getting brighter, and I felt my states being altered. My first thought was, oh my God, someone laced it with acid. Then I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. I stood up and ran outside. I stood by the balustrade and hoped that the combination of the fresh breeze and my willing my sobriety back upon me would do the trick. I stayed in a freaked out state for quite a while, but it eventually wore off and I felt relieved. Yesterday, in fact, I think I dreamed that I was about to have a heart attack, but it seemed so real. I took too many Aleve and also an aspirin, which you aren't supposed to do because they are NSAIDs and you can't mix them. Because I have recently gotten new meds for my anxiety and now I have antibiotics and painkillers for my bad tooth, I constantly Google combinations of medications to see if I am safe taking them together. Every new sensation I feel brings me a new worry. If my chest feels a tingle, I think I'm about to have a heart attack. If my head feels a temporary ache or zap, I think I'm going to have an aneurysm, or maybe I have brain cancer. Maybe Michel de Montaigne was right that a swift death would be the best death, at least for me. I don't know that I'm dying. I don't want to know that I'm dying when I do. I feel this neurotic hypochondria will only get worse with time. I'm 27 now, which, oh, by the way, means I can join the club of greats if I were to die while going under. Did I mention the phone number contained 666 in it? The phone number for the dentistry place, that is. Maybe it's my schizotypical that causes me unnecessary distress from bullshit superstitions. I consider myself a man of science, but when it comes to being scared, I sometimes fear the most irrational things. Sometimes I fear a spider will be behind me or that someone will open my door and attack me when my room is dark and I'm trying to sleep. I even believe in the possibility of ghosts when I'm in my most vulnerable states and alone, though I dismiss them as utter nonsense during the day. I went off on a tangent. What I meant to say was, though I'm 27 now, what about when I'm 40, 50, 60? Christopher Hitchens died in his 60s, and a lot of people would probably say that was a pretty natural age to go at. Right now I can somewhat console myself and tell myself that I'm probably too young to die of things like cancer and heart attacks, but that consolation will fade when the years go by. I can't turn my brain off, I can't stop my introspections, I can't tell myself not to think of death, because then that's what I do think about. Does anyone else do this? What is wrong with me? I feel like a monist, but I act like such a dualist. I treat my brain like it is this unique place where I hide away from the rest of the world, like I'm watching what passes before my eyes as if it was a movie and I'm the only audience member. That is part of why I'm so much that is part of why I so much more fear dying of brain cancer or an aneurysm. I know earlier I said I fear cancer less than a heart attack, but I think brain cancer may be the exception. Anyway, it's late, nearly 2 a.m., and I can't afford to miss my business law class like I missed my accounting class yesterday. I'm going to finish watching E.T. now, and then I'll lay down and listen to Loveline clips on YouTube, because Adam Carolla cracks me up, even though I find him too judgmental of his callers. And should I take my Seroquel to help me go to sleep? How would that react with my hydrocodone? God damn it. Edition added 2/21/2014. It scares me that while my mind and consciousness are it scares me that while my mind and consciousness are so indispensable, and that they rely upon a mushy body filled with blood and fat and tendons, and that this body is filled with all sorts of fragile functioning systems that dare not be disturbed lest I perish and my conscious thoughts come to an end. This body must endure not only what the this, this body must endure not only the external world, but is not safe from mistakes of its own inner workings. I neglected to mention blood clots previously. I recently read back on wrestler Chris Candido, who was only 33, and how he died so randomly post-surgery after breaking his leg. Death does not have to be a plot build-up, but it strikes without warning. An air bubble embolisms, those terrify me as well. How easy it seems one could get one merely from a needle that has an air pocket. I have even heard that a female can receive one from blowing air into the vagina. Though slightly not related, I thought I should mention a short story about an acquaintance friend I had in Knoxville, Tennessee. I have video footage of him on my computer. His name was Brendan McNamara. His mother considered him a miracle kid. She is religious. His brother was killed in a car crash, then he was involved in a car crash but survived. He suffered from seizures as a result, one of which I witnessed while we were watching a movie. He was going to college, and around Christmas of 2008, he was coming to see his mother, but he and his uncle were involved in yet another car crash that killed both of them. Brendan was in his early 20s. My other acquaintance/friend, Aaron Marbury, who was dating Rebecca, the mother, who would later wonder what the meaning of this was. I think the idea of intrinsic meaning in the workings of nature is absurd, and sometimes I use the story as an example of the absurdity of the idea of a divine plan being set out for all people. Edition added 3/13/2014. Taylor Caldwell's surgery. Yeah, so they opened me up. It's just a simple day surgery. While I was under, I had a very, very bad reaction to the anesthesia, and I stopped breathing completely. That was the text I got while lounging in the shower and texting on my phone. My friend Taylor had to go get a major surgery being opened up to treat her endometriosis, and she related this anecdote to me. I don't have much else to say on the matter, but rather found it quite the coincidence since I had recently written this story. I decided to share this writing with her as of right now, and she is the first to read it. I recently ate another weed cookie being told it was different than the last one I tried. I freaked out again. I think I'll save that story for a different writing, though.